We made our visit to Israel and Palestine in order to better understand the reality of life in that place. We were welcomed into a land holy to three religions, yet caught in 60 years of continuous conflict. On our journey, two themes have captured us: memory and steadfast resistance. In Arabic, Samud. During our first days in Jerusalem, we visited Yad Vashem, the Holocaust museum that attempts to reconstruct the daily lives and sufferings of the Jewish people murdered in Nazi death camps, and to honor those righteous among the nations who tried to save their Jewish neighbors during the horrors of the Holocaust. The name Yad Vashem comes from a passage in Isaiah. "Even unto them will I give in mine house and within my walls a place and a name, Yad Vashem. I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off." The museum remembers those lost lives and communities, while calling on all the world to witness what occurred. Our Jewish tour guide, Tamar, who accompanied us to Yad Vashem, took us the same day to the abandoned village of Lifta. This 800-year-old Palestinian town has been abandoned since 1948, when a Zionist assassination squad killed several villagers and frightened the inhabitants into a temporary flight from which they never returned. Tamar told us that her 15 years of work recovering the memories of the Holocaust for Yad Vashem had given her the eyes to see that all memories of the history of the Israeli return to Palestine. She spoke of her work with other Israelis to try to undo the Nakba and find a way for Palestinians
that the refugees return without making it dangerous for the people living there. I'm not sure it's going to work, because it still would mean having a much larger amount of Palestinians, of course, inside Israel, and it would still mean that there would no longer be a Jewish majority.
In Jerusalem, we visited the Ecumenical Palestinian Liberation Theology Center, where we heard from Christian Palestinians about both the personal and social disintegration caused by the Nakba of the 1948 Zionist invasion that drove Palestinians from their homes and created thousands as permanent refugees in an ongoing Nakba that continues to displace Christian and Muslim Palestinians throughout Israel and the occupied territories daily. We also learned about the theological disruption that came as these Palestinian Christians found that in the Zionist, both Christian and Jewish, reading of the Bible, Palestine is a land given by God to the Jews. Our host Sidar raised the question, how do I, a Palestinian Christian, read the Bible in the face of my family's displacement? What do I pray for?
To remain a majority, stay within the 1967 borders. Because if you expand, you're not only taking land, you're taking land and people. Because the land is full of people. That's why they make it so difficult for us to drive us out. They say voluntarily. And sometimes it does occur to us. Like now I have 5 grandchildren. They're not all living here, but like my 21-year-old granddaughter has to cross Canada. And she comes home so desperate. My children, one of them wanted to die. It becomes so difficult living under occupation that people wish that death becomes easier.
The theme of steadfastness was underlined for us in our visits to 2 Bedouin villages in the Negev desert that have been demolished again and again by Israeli authorities, who are attempting to force Bedouin people from their traditional way of life. Al-Araqib has been bulldozed completely flat, and only a stubborn reconstruction of symbolic shelters and repeated legal challenges have kept the Jewish National Fund from planting a forest to completely eradicate the village. In Al-Sira, houses rebuilt after being demolished have had demolition orders posted on their doors again. We were introduced to these villages by Amos, an Israeli activist who continually argued that when legal action leads to immoral acts, a citizen must resist in the name of morality.
This is what they mean, and this is exactly against the citizens of that village. It's not in their interest.
So I am a number in their map. You know, it reminds me something of the very dark and awful times of the World War II. I am sorry to say that, but it's really the same. I am a number on the map. It is not in my hand, not in my face. It's on my door. The same. The same. So very offensive. Really, if they want something from me, like paying a tax or something like that, they would find 100 ways to find me and hand me something with my name and my address and my ID number. But here, even don't have the respect to mention my name. So I am a number on the map. 67.
Back in Jerusalem, we visit the hillside house of Salim, within sight of the Mount of Olives. His terraced home site has been destroyed by Israeli authorities 6 times since 1998. Salim is working with the Israel Committee Against House Demolitions, hosting international student volunteers, turning his land into an exhibition site to show visitors the reality of living under fear of demolition.
I will be a bone in that front. They can't swallow it and they can't get it out.
We found this same samud, or steadfastness, present in the 5,000-year-old city of Hebron, the traditional site of the tombs of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, and Leah. Here, a small number of Israeli settlers, supported by constant patrols of Israeli soldiers, have literally inhabited buildings in Palestinian territory, dividing Palestinian neighborhoods with no-go zones that deny the inhabitants access to schools and markets, except on foot and by passing through military checkpoints.
Palestinians cannot come here. I cannot come by myself here. I'm here because you are here. You have my permission to come. 420 Israeli settlers live in the old city of Hebron, supported by 1,500 soldiers.
In one part of the old city, Israeli settlers live in the upper floors of historic structures, while the ground level houses the stalls of the local Palestinian market. The shopkeepers have had to install a network of wire netting to protect themselves, their customers, and their goods from the garbage and stones thrown down on them from above. This daily threat and the random, insistent military patrols have all but destroyed the business of the market. We walked through the tunnel-like streets of the old city with Walid, a Palestinian working to physically restore the market and encourage business people to stay. For every time a Palestinian abandons a house, a market stall, or a plot of land, Israel confiscates it.
We are not going to give up as long as we live. This is our homeland.
Inshallah. Yallah.
Ahlan wa sahlan. All the best. Nice meeting
We are
you.
just
Take care.
warming.
In this highly militarized ancient town, where hostile interactions between Israeli settlers are so much a part of life that 3 different international organizations have a permanent presence to stand between the settlers, the Israeli army that protects the settlers, and the Palestinian population, we got only a small dose of the hassles of daily life.
You are not allowed to be here still. I will kill you down.
But now, don't stay.
As internationals, we're not allowed
Don't
to
be
do that.
international. Now you need to go there.
Yet we heard remarkable stories of resistance to the settlers' attempts to force the Muslim population to abandon their homes and olive groves. After his home was demolished 3 times and part of his family's olive groves seized by Israeli settlers, Abda al-Atazum moved an old camper into the middle of his land and persisted in living there among his trees. Because of ill health, he has lately moved to a more permanent house, surrounded on 3 sides by the houses that Israeli settlers have inhabited. From his window, he can still look out across this olive grove to the settlement on the opposite hill that covets his green orchard. In hearing the stories of our Israeli and Palestinian sisters and brothers, Tamar showed us that it is important that we remember. But the memories themselves aren't enough. How we remember is also critical, as well as what becomes of our memories. In our own families, we tell the stories of our ancestors. We pass down mementos, jewelry, furniture, or pictures to help construct the memories that make us who we are. These memories impact the way we live our lives. They change us. In the same way, the stories of our Palestinian friends are changing us. Inspired by their Samud, we commit to remembering and telling their stories. Everyone from Walid to Salim, from the Bedouins in the Negev to the shepherds in the hills of South Hebron, from the Palestinians in refugee camps in Bethlehem to the Palestinians in Hebron and Jerusalem, they are all impacted by our complicity with our government's actions. Our visit has given us memories of our own. The names of places where Jews, Muslims, and Christians have shared with us their lives, their hopes, and their fears. The faces of age and youth, sickness and health, despair and joy. We cannot forget what they have given us.
Yeah.